Hello YouTube. So this is a little kit I'm putting together primarily based around the heavy cover canteen set inside of the centerline mother canteen pouch, and worn in conjunction with this kit over my shoulder. As you can see, I've got a shoulder sling, a Leatherman tool with fire steel, and everything I need to make a drill. There's a nice video made by a fellow in Canada on that. Everything's in that little pouch that hangs on the strap. This kit would be worn in conjunction with this knife on my belt. This is the Habilis bush tool. Also have a fire steel on that sheath as well. So keep that in mind if you're wondering why I don't have a cutting tool on board so much. Let's see here. Let's dig in. I've got on the outside with the wonderful Canadian jam knot, the Grand Forks Brooks small hatchet. I don't know what they call it. Let me set you down here while I undo this thing. The Canadian jam knot. Oops, sorry. Get that off of there for you real quick. I guess I should have probably done this differently. I could have laid it all out for you. It's hard to do with one hand. Could have laid out all the contents. That's what I'll do. I'll take a little video of it together and then I'll cut. Actually, I don't know how to edit shit together, so we'll just go this way. Sorry about that. That's all. Okay, so there's the Grand Forks Brooks hatchet, wilderness hatchet, I think it's called, or wildlife hatchet. Nice and light. I've got a little bit of tape around there, which actually kind of negates having that roll of tape now that I think about it. Maybe I can get rid of that, although it is pretty sweet. And then some fire cord around the handle as like a lanyard. So that's that portion. Yeah, maybe I can get rid of this since I've got tape on the handle there. Pretty good length of it. Maybe I will. That's a good thing to do, actually, probably. We'll just get rid of that after all. So here underneath with the Canadian jam knots, I have the Wilderness Innovation poncho shelter. So that's the poncho with the channeled ends in it, so you can make it into a hammock. It can be a tarp, it can be a hammock, it can be a chair, it can be a poncho. So that's a great piece of kit, and I always have one with me. I own two of them, one for this kit and one in my EDC bag that I take to work with me every day. Inside here I also have an SOL heavy duty blanket. It's in there, believe it or not, and a couple lengths of paracord to string this baby up like a hammock. So that's that bit. It hangs on the bottom. I'll get that off of there. Sorry about this. Okay, so there's that gone. And you know, that's got a fair bit of weight to it, but well worth carrying. So essentially I have a emergency blanket and a hammock, or a tarp and a hammock, or a ground sheet and a hammock, or yeah, so it's a little bit of a shelter kit there. And let's see, we'll undo these. Here I've got a chunk of paracord, probably just under, I don't know, 50 to 75 feet maybe. I always like having excess cordage. It comes in very handy. And here I've got a few, just some kind of a tensioner jobby, I don't know what they're called. on an S-beaner with about 6 of these Coke tabs. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but they make great line tensioners for your tarp. So there's that little bit of shelter action on the one side, and that's everything in there. On the other side, I've got a Phoenix light attached there, nice and bright. Inside here I have another little, they call this the tube, I think they call it. I'm pretty heavy on the lighting in this kit, and I may be able to knock that down again. We'll see. A spork. Set that down. Throw that there, that there. Spork. DC 9 or whatever they call it, sharpener. That's a great little thing to have. Sharpen your axe and your knife and what have you. A little piece of fire starter fat wood, pretty resin soaked. In the side pocket as well. And the pocket bellows, which is awesome. There's lots of videos on that on YouTube. That's sort of part of my fire kit, fire starting kit. And a couple of these wipes that you just get them wet and they turn into wet towels. 2 of those. I don't know why they're in there. Probably because cleanliness is a good thing to have, you know. It's hard with one hand. Okay, here I've just got a bunch of teas, various kinds of tea. I thought I threw that in there like a brew kit, kind of an idea. A little bit of tin foil in case I get a fish, or to make a windbreak for my stove, stuff like that. The little firebox stove, which is, I think, pretty effective. I tried it once in the winter, didn't have much luck, but everything was wet, so we'll try again another time soon here. But some water purification tablets in there. It's 1 tablet for 1 liter, and shake it and let it sit for 30 minutes. A Bic lighter, mini Bic. This, what the hell is this thing? Ready Man little thing. It's got like fish hooks and arrowheads and all kinds of stuff in there. Little saw. I don't know how effective it is, but it doesn't take up much room, so I thought I'd throw it in. Kind of neat. Speaking of fishing, I guess I could use a fish hook and the inner strand of some of that paracord and have myself a decent little fire, or a decent little fishing setup. Sorry. This is my fire tinders and a P38 can opener, I believe. These are the Tinder Quicks. There's a bunch of them in there. That's sort of part of my fire action as well. And then the stove itself, that's all I have in that pouch. The firebox stove. So there's everything that's come out of it so far, minus the knife up there, because that'd be on my hip. So far so good. So we'll get into the meat of it here. So a Pocket Boy, Silky Pocket Boy saw. Likely I'd probably have this in my pants pocket or hanging off my belt somehow, so it might not necessarily need to be in there, but it is for now for storage or whatever. Silky, good saws. I like them a lot. They're handy, they're useful, and they're worth having for the weight. Here I have, next to where the Silky was, I have 8 titanium tent pegs, and that'll be part of my shelter system as well. Save time in carving up your own tent pegs. titanium ones. They weigh very little and they're pretty thin, so they take up very little room. Those are in there. And I've got the heavy cover canteen, and I just use some bright paracord and the Canadian jam knot and the bowline hitch to connect it to the lid so I don't lose the lid. And then in there's the cup. You can get that out, I think. So there's the pouch itself. There's the heavy cover canteen cup. That's great. There's the heavy cover canteen. Fits right inside. It's the bulk of the system. And then the lid is in the back pouch here. There's a lid for the stove, for the canteen, and that's everything in the kit. So it's a little bit of shelter, a little bit of water, a little bit of cooking and heat. I was thinking about putting a Sawyer Mini and a dry bag in this, but I really don't think it's going to fit too well. It's pretty loaded out with all that stuff that you see there for a pretty nice little survival kit. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry for the shaky action. I'm not a professional filmmaker, but I hope you got a good idea of what I was carrying in this mother canteen pouch from Centerline Systems. It wasn't cheap. In fact, none of this stuff is really cheap. The heavy covered canteen, especially up here in Canada, is bitchin' expensive. The the Wilderness Innovation poncho is also quite expensive by the time you pay for it to get to Canada, and duty and all that. Grand Forth Brooks wildlife hatchet, firebox stove, all this stuff's not cheap, but it is a pretty complete kit for like a day hike, overnight emergency situation. I'd likely carry this with me on a day hike and have no problems with it at all. So I hope you liked the video, and feel free to comment, like, share, whatever. Take care. Thanks again.